For today's watch review, we're talking about the Seiko World Time Chronograph model number SSC508. Let's do a quick wrist check. I'm currently rocking my Citizen Aqualand BN2038, an absolutely beautiful watch. I have done a review on this one, so make sure to check it out. Going back to the Seiko, let's start off with our first talking point, which is going to be a 360 view and the dimensions. Here's the case that it comes in. Very standard, but very well built Seiko box. So let's zoom in here. This is a very good looking watch, in my opinion. You've got this coined or some kind of textured bezel, which doesn't rotate. And then here's the case back. You've got the Seiko Prospex logo on the case back. If I can get it to focus here. There we go. And here's the band. Very handsome looking band. And here are the dimensions. Not too big, not too small. Pretty average size for the person who has an average wrist size. So like 7 or 6.5 to 7.5 size wrist. The score on dimensions, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5 because there's nothing too out of place here. Everything is very standard when it comes to numbers. Next talking point is price. MSRP on the Seiko website, you're looking at $396. However, street price, you're looking at a range from $200 to $270, depending on where you're shopping at. The score on price, I give it a 3.5 out of 5. And that's mostly because I think when you're getting upwards to that $300 price range, I don't know, it's a little bit outside of my comfort level for what I'm getting, but all in all, still a very good quality watch. Next talking point is functions and features. Let's take a look at what you're getting on the front. So this is a solar powered watch. So right here you've got your charge indicator. Right now you can see that mine is middle, so I need to have it sitting out on the windowsill for probably for a couple days. And then here are your different modes. You've got alarm, world time, and chronograph. So there is an alarm feature on this watch, and how to set it is you pull out the crown to the first position, so one click out, and then your second hand is going to point to either the off or on indicator. So that means that right now my alarm is off, and in order to set the time, you would adjust the lower dial here to whatever time that you want it to alarm, and then the upper dial to shift it to on or off. World time is accessed via this button right here, and how you would do that is you hold it for 3 seconds. After you hold it for 3 seconds, the mode will change to world time mode. So I'll show you, demonstrate. And then your second hand is going to point to whichever time zone that you want this bottom dial to show. So right now I have it set it to New York time. So I'm at LAX for my main time, and then New York City for this sub dial down here. And then chronograph, you would access that. Oh, and as you saw, if you don't do anything in world time mode for a couple of seconds, it'll automatically go back to just your standard display. Chronograph, you just hit the button right here, and then you get a sweeping motion on your second hand. This is your measuring seconds, and then down here will show you how much time has elapsed. And then you hit that again to stop, reset, and then if you hit this bottom button again, you get out of chronograph mode and go back to main time. You do have a date display right here, so with the black backdrop and the white text. And that's pretty much it when it comes to your immediate functions and features. So the score on functions and features, I give it a 3.5 out of 5. And the reason why I give it a little bit lower of a score is just because of the user interface. None of this is difficult, but if you're buying this watch straight out the box, straight from the factory, and you have no idea how to use it, it is a little bit complicated. Now, for someone like me, and I'm very familiar with many different types of watches, it's quite easy to figure out. But for somebody who's new to the watch game, they're going to have a hard time figuring it out. So I give it a lower score just because it's a little bit more complex than your standard watch that you'd be expecting to get. So 3.5 out of 5. Next talking point is illumination. Let's go ahead and show you footage of this watch in a dark room. As you can see, Seiko illumination is always great, but my biggest gripe with this one is that it only really illuminates the 12, 3, 6, and 9 indices, and then your hour and minute hand. So they've got fantastic lume, but there's no lume on all of the indices. And to me, I feel like that's just something that they didn't have to do. They could have definitely illuminated or put lume on all of the indices. So I'm going to take away points for that. So for illumination, I give it a 3 out of 5. Next talking point is visibility. Very good visibility. It is easy to see the hour hand and minute hand, and then the indices or the hour markers have got this beautiful gold style coating. So it's a very handsome, attractive watch. I am going to take away points on visibility. So the score I give for visibility is 3 out of 5, and the reason being is that the date is kind of hard to see. Right now you can see it clearly, but in a normal environment when you're wearing this on your wrist, it is a little bit difficult. I feel like it would have been much easier to see with a white background and then black numbers. Again, my personal preference, but I feel like most of you would agree. If you do get this watch, you'll understand what I'm talking about. And then another reason why I take away points is this secondary time subdial down here. It's in 24 hours, which is great, but it's a little bit confusing because you have to kind of shift from 12-hour mode on this main dial to 24-hour mode here. So it just requires a little bit more thinking to, if you quickly want to see what your time is in a different time zone, you kind of have to look in, and the numbers are very small, so right, you can easily see the 24, 6, 12, and 18, but any number in between there, you kind of really got to focus to see that. So for visibility, I give it a 3 out of 5. The next talking point is button and crown quality. Here is your buttons and your crown. Very good quality, very solid, easy to press, but the only reason why I'm taking away points on that is because I would have preferred to see a screw down crown. Again, doesn't affect the functionality or performance of the watch at all. That's just my personal preference. And for you, if you're somebody that likes to see screw down crowns, just keep in mind that this is not a screw down crown. So what score did I give that? I give it a 4 out of 5. Another reason why is quality is fantastic, but I would have liked to have seen some kind of coined edge around these buttons too, to emulate the bezel right here. I just think that would have looked real slick. Also, completely personal preference of mine. Next talking point is band quality and comfort. Here's the band. Beautiful band. I absolutely love the two-tone style here. There are some different models out there. This one came with the split pin system, so very easy to adjust. Some of them come with a pin and collar system, which is a real pain in the ass, especially if you don't know what you're doing or you've never dealt with a pin and collar. So just keep that in mind. If you do buy this watch, be prepared to deal with a pin and collar system. Make sure that you've got maybe like a rag or something for the collars to fall onto. So, because if you lose the collar, you're kind of shit out of luck, and you'll have to end up ordering more collars, and then you'll essentially have a useless watch, a watch that you can't wear anymore until you get new collars. If you get the split pin system, then it's an easy day. Other things about it, talking about the two-tone style, these gold, I don't even know what you want to call these. We'll just call them links. The gold part of these links, they are not attached to the main steel link. These are separate pieces. So one link is really three pieces. You've got the steel part and then two separate gold links right there. So that's another thing to keep in mind when you do adjust the band. Make sure that these gold links fall onto something, because if you lose it, it's going to be hard to find on the floor, and it'll ruin the overall look, you know, missing some of these gold pieces. So for the band quality and comfort, I give it a 4 out of 5. The only reason why I take away that point is because it is a little bit more complex than your standard watch band, and I feel like they could have just made just a one solid link with the two-tone display without, you know, having the complexity of three separate pieces. Next talking point is the X factor. That is the overall attractiveness, just handsomeness, charisma, everything else that is not really physical about the watch. X factor, I give it a 5 out of 5. And that is because despite all the negative things that I've said about this watch, you cannot deny that this is just a really good looking timepiece. And really what sells it for me is this coined edge right here. Any watch with a coined edge like that just gives it this higher quality feel to it. And even just the solidness of this watch, it's very solid, feels very good. It's that standard Seiko Prospex quality that you would expect. There's no denying that when you wear this, it's going to increase your look by a lot because it is such a good looking watch. So 5 out of 5 for the X factor. Last talking point is my overall thoughts and should you buy this watch. Averaging all the scores, we get a total score of 3.8 out of 5, and I think that's a pretty accurate score in my opinion. It's not a popular watch, at least from what I've seen. I've never really seen many people wear it. There's hardly any reviews on the internet, and there might be a good reason to that. As far as overall fit and finish, it is fantastic. So if you do end up buying this watch because you really like the look, I think as long as you're willing to understand and read the manual and know how it works, then you should have no issues with it. The solar power is great, so it's really a set it and forget it watch. Just the little things about this watch, the little quirks are the things that take away points from it. But again, as long as you're willing to be patient, learn how it works, learn the little different unique things about it, then you should be absolutely fine. Whether or not you should buy it, if you're a collector, of course, if you're a collector, you should always strive to buy as many watches as possible. If you're just somebody who is looking for a watch, I think for the price range, there's definitely better options out there for you, especially in the Seiko catalog. They've got fantastic automatic pieces, fantastic solar watches that are super easy to use, super user friendly, and they're all in the same price range too. You know, and if you look at watches as an investment, you really want to get the ones that have high resale value. I don't know necessarily if the SSC508 is going to have a high resale value, but you know, well, you never know. You have to kind of just wait and see. But if you're just somebody looking for a watch, I recommend looking past this one, getting something simpler. However, if you do end up getting this one, you should not regret it. It's just going to take a little bit of time to understand the functions and how it works. So those are my thoughts. I hope that this helps you with your next watch purchase. Thank you for watching, and make sure to tune in for my next episode. All right, bye.